gonna be cozy. Our first story is Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown. In the great green room, there was a telephone and a red balloon and a picture of the cow jumping over the moon. And there were 3 little bears sitting on chairs and 2 little kittens and a pair of mittens and a little toy house and a young mouse and a comb and a brush and a bowl full of mush and a quiet old lady who was whispering, "Hush." Good night, room. Good night, moon. Good night, cow jumping over the moon. Good night, light and the red balloon. Good night, bears. Good night, chairs. Good night, kittens. And good night, mittens. Good night, clocks. And good night, socks. Good night, little house. And good night, mouse. Good night, comb. And good night, brush. Good night, nobody. Good night, mush. And good night to the old lady whispering, "Hush." Good night, stars. Good night, air. Good night, noises everywhere. That was our story! Yippee! The Princess and the Pea by Hans Christian Andersen. 1835. Once upon a time, there was a prince who wanted to marry a princess, but she would have to be a real princess. He travelled all over the world to find one, but nowhere could he get what he wanted. There were princesses enough, but it was difficult to find out whether they were real ones. There was always something about them that was not as it should be. So he came home again and was sad, for he would have liked very much to have a real princess. One evening, a terrible storm came on. There was thunder and lightning, and rain poured down in torrents. Suddenly, a knocking was heard at the city gate, and the old king went to open it. It was a princess standing out there in front of the gate. But good gracious, what a sight the rain and the wind had made her look. The water ran down from her hair and clothes. It ran down into the toes of her shoes and out again at the heels. And yet, she said she was a real princess. Well, we'll soon find that out, thought the old queen. But she said nothing. Went into the bedroom, took all the bedding off the bedstead, and laid a pea on the bottom. Then she took 20 mattresses and laid them on the pea, and the 20 eider-down beds on the top of the mattresses. On this, the princess had to lie all night. In the morning, she was asked how she slept. "Oh, very badly," she said. "I have scarcely closed my eyes all night. Heavens only knows what was in the bed, but I was lying on something hard, and so that I am black and blue all over my body. It's horrible." Now they knew she was a real princess, because she had felt the pea right through the 20 mattresses and the 20 eider-down beds. Nobody but a real princess could be as sensitive as that. So the prince took her for his wife, for now he knew that he had a real princess, and the pea was put in a museum, where it may still be seen, if no one has stolen it. There, that is a true story. The Ugly Duckling by whoever wrote The Ugly Duckling. Once on a farm long ago, a mama duck sat on her nest. "How long must I wait for my babies to hatch? I have to sit here all by myself." But what could she do? A mama duck must keep her eggs warm until they hatch. At last, the eggs began to crack. One yellow duckling stepped out of its shell, then another. Each little chick shook its wings. Quack, quack! Look at you! Cried Mama Duck with joy. You're all so cute! Quack, quack, quack! They said with pride. Come line up, said Mama Duck. We will go down to the lake for your very first swim. She counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh dear, she said with a frown. I had 6 eggs. I should have 6 ducklings. 1 large egg was still in the nest. Well, said Mama Duck, it looks like that big egg will take more time. So she went back to sit on her nest again and wait some more. The next day, the big egg started to hatch. Out popped a baby boy bird. Yet, my goodness! How different this one looked. He was much larger than the others. He was not yellow, but dark grey all over. And after he stepped out of his egg, he walked with a funny wobble. One of the yellow ducklings pointed. What's that? He can't be one of us. One of the yellow ducklings... Oh, I was reading it again. Wait, give me a second. I have never seen such an ugly duckling, said another. How can you say such a thing? The Mama Duck, in a very stern voice. Said Mama Duck in a very stern voice. You are only 1 day old. Your brother hatched from the very same nest as you did. Now line up. We will go to the lake for your very first swim. All the other ducklings quacked. Ugly! 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 The ugly duckling did not know why the other ducklings were yelling at him. He fell behind to take the last spot in line. When they got to the lake, each yellow duck jumped in and swam behind Mama Duck. When it was his turn, the ugly duckling jumped in too, and he started to paddle. At least he can swim, Mama Duck thought to herself. When the yellow ducklings got out of the water and started to play, the ugly duckling tried to play with his brothers and sisters. They yelled at him, Go away! We will not play with you. You are ugly, and you walk weird. When Mama Duck was close by, she would not let them talk this way. Be nice, she would scold, but she was not always close by. One day, one of the yellow ducklings said to the ugly duckling, You know what? You could do us a big favor if you just went away. All of them started to quack. Go! Go away! Quack! Quack, 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 quack! Why won't they let me stay with them? Thought the ugly duckling. He hung his head down low. They must be right. I should go. That night, the ugly duckling flew over the farmyard fence to the other side of the lake. There he met 2 grown-up ducks. Can I please stay here for a while? Said the ugly duckling. I have nowhere else to live. What do we care? Said one of the ducks. It's a big lake. Oh wait, they're happy about it. What do we care? It's a big lake, just don't get in our way. Woof woof! Run run! Suddenly a big, hungry dog came tearing by, chasing the 2 ducks. They quickly flew up in the air, their feathers fell down to the ground. The poor ugly duckling froze in fear. The dog sniffed and sniffed at the ugly duckling. Then it turned around and walked away. I'm too ugly, even for that mean old dog, said the ugly duckling in a sorrowful voice. The sky turned dark. Crack! A bolt of lightning lit up the sky. Then came a big storm, with heavy rain pouring down. In just moments, the ugly duckling was soaked through and through. A cold wind started to blow. Oh my gosh. He held both wings close to his chest. If only there was some place I could dry out. All at once, a tiny light blinked far off in the woods. Could it be someone's hut? The ugly duckling flew to the door. Quack, said he. The door of the hut creaked open. What is all this noise? Said an old woman, looking right and left. Her eyes were not that good, but she could hear. She looked down. A duck! She picked up the ugly duckling and dropped him inside her hut. "You might as well stay here," she said, "but mind you, I expect you to lay eggs." A tomcat and hen both crept up to the ugly duckling. "Who do you think you are?" the tomcat hissed. "Coming here and taking up room by the fire?" "Squawk!" said the hen. "I'm the only one around here who lays eggs. You don't know the first thing about laying eggs." "You got that right," said the ugly duckling. "I'm a boy duck." "Then why are you here?" sneered the tomcat. "Didn't you hear what the old woman said?" "Imposter! Get out of here!" yipped the hen. "Go away!" jeered the tomcat. The door was still a bit open, so the poor, ugly duckling crept out the door and back into the storm. "No one ever wants me," said the ugly duckling with a tear in his eye. Oh. The storm ended. Finally, he found another lake. Looking in the water, the ugly duckling saw a reflection from above. A flock of large birds were flying overhead, above him. He turned to admire them. They were the most beautiful birds he'd ever seen. Their long bodies and slender necks winged through the sky with ease and grace. He watched until the very last one disappeared from view. The ugly duckling stayed at the lake as the days grew shorter. The leaves turned deep red and gold and fell to the ground. Winter came, setting its blanket of white snow. The cold wind blew and the clouds darkened. He had to dive into small holes in the ice to find fish to eat. Under the ice was all he could do to keep paddling so the water wouldn't freeze around him, trapping him underneath the lake. He became terribly tired. The ice got thicker still, and the wind blew harder. In a moment, 2 giant hands swept him up. "You poor thing," said a farmer. He held the ugly duckling close to his thick, warm wool jacket. "You didn't fly south with the others?" The farmer was carrying him someplace. "Where?" The next months were lovely. Warmth from the heat of the fire and from the heart of the farmer enveloped our poor hero. For the rest of the winter, the farmer cared for the ugly duckling. At last, spring came. Little dots of green spotted the tree branches. Short, bright flowers popped up from the ground. "It's time for you to go back to the lake and swim again, as you were born to do," said the farmer. He took the duckling back to the lake, where he had found him, and set him on the water. "I feel good," said the young bird, flapping his wings. "Why, I don't think I ever felt as strong as I do right now." Spring passed, then summer. The leaves started to change colours. When one day, the ugly duckling heard quiet splashing sounds behind him. He turned around. A flock of those same beautiful birds he had once seen winging through the sky now sat on the lake. "Don't worry," he said to the beautiful birds, holding out one of his wings. "I am leaving. I won't make trouble for you." When he happened to glance down at the lake, he saw a reflection in the water that looked like one of those beautiful birds. Why was the bird so close to him? He jumped back. The reflection jumped back too. "What's this?" he thought, puzzled. Our troubled hero stretched his neck, and strangely the reflection of the beautiful bird in the lake stretched its neck too. "Why are you leaving so soon?" called out one of the beautiful birds. "Come back," said another. "Stay with us," said yet another swan. "We'll be friends." Then the bird who used to be the ugly duckling realized what had happened. He was no longer an ugly grey bird that wobbled when it walked. He had grown into a beautiful swan. Then a dark thought crossed his mind. "You only want me because I'm a swan and I look like you," said he. "That's not it at all," said the first one who had spoken. "We saw you all alone down here and thought you might want to join us. We don't care how birds look. Why, take a look at Pelican over there." "No one would take me for a swan," squawked Pelican. "How did you end up with them?" asked our hero, who used to be an ugly duckling. "Stayed up too late," The night before, shrugged Pelican. Slept till noon, my flock took off without me. We're sure glad the swans came along when they did. Thanks, guys, said the second swan, who had spoken. And there's Egret. That was worded weirdly. I got it. Not too much more story. What can I tell you, said Egret. I love to ride those wind currents. Then found out my entire flock was gone. By then there was no way I could catch up. If the swans didn't come along and invite me to join them, who knows where I'd be now. The hero who used to be an ugly duckling considered these stories, yet was still skeptical. Winter may get a little cold in the lake, he said, but no one bothers me here, and spring comes eventually. Eventually? Said the first swan. Why suffer if you don't have to? Where we fly to, the sun shines hot all day long. Imagine it. Thick, delicious pondweed for as far as you can see. Algae, waterside grasses, the works. I see your point, admitted our hero. Besides, said the third swan, I bet you'd love to fly further than just circling around the lake. We sure do. Another good point. Our hero often imagined how lovely it would be to stretch out and just fly, and fly some more. The bird who used to be an ugly duckling considered, these birds may be beautiful to look at, but they are also beautiful inside. This is the flock for me. So the entire flock, including their newest friend, flapped their wings together, and in one moment, they took off into the clear blue sky. The end. Okay. I will now read to you Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. This is gonna be tough to read, but I'll do my best. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toes did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome rafts outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jub bird, and shun the fruminous bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand. Long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And in an uffish thought he stood. The Jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through, the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. Oh, frabjous day, callooh, callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toes did gyre and gimble in the wabe. Oh, mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome rafts outgrabe. I have no idea what I just said, but somehow it sounded so natural. Okay, are you ready? This story is The Little Engine That Could by Beryl Ives. I haven't heard this one before. Get comfy, Nina one, and I will read to you. There was a little railroad train with loads and loads of toys, all starting out to find a home with little girls and boys. And as that little railroad train began to move along, the little engine up in front was heard to sing this song. How does it go? Choo 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 choo, choo 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 choo, I feel so good today. Oh, hear the track, oh clickety clack, I'll go my merry way. Bit of a banger. The little train went rousing on so fast it seemed to fly, until it reached a mountain that went almost to the sky. The little engine moaned and groaned and huffed and puffed away, but halfway to the top, it just gave up and seemed to say, can't go on, I can't go on. I'm weary as can be. I can't go on, I can't go on. This job is not for me. The toys got out to push, but all in vain, alas, alack. And then a great big engine came whistling down the track. They asked if it would kindly pull them up the mountainside, but with a high and mighty sneer, it scornfully replied, "Don't bother me. Don't bother me to pull the likes of you. Don't bother me. Don't bother me. I've better things to do." The toys all started crying because that engine was so mean. And then there came another one, the smallest ever seen. And though it seemed that she could hardly pull herself along, she hitched onto the front, and as she pulled and sang a song, "I think I can, I think I can, I think I have a plan, and I can do most anything if I only think I can." Then up that great big mountain with the cars all full of toys, and soon they reached the waiting arms of little girls and boys. And though that ends the story, it will do you lots of good to take a lesson from the little engine that could. Just think you can, and have that understood. And very soon you'll start to say, "I always knew I could. I knew I could, I knew I could, I knew I could, I knew I could." Wow. Wow, what a beautiful story. It was so beautiful. Ah, it brings a tear to my eye. The Fox and the Crow by Aesop. A crow was sitting on a branch of a tree with a piece of cheese in her beak when a fox observed her and set his wits to work to discover some way of getting the cheese. Coming and standing under the tree, he looked up and said, "What a noble bird I see above me. Her beauty is without equal, the hue of her plumage exquisite. If only her voice is as sweet as her looks are fair, she ought without doubt to be queen of the birds." The crow was hugely flattered by this, and just to show the fox that she could sing, she gave a loud caw. Down came the cheese, of course, and the fox, snatching it up, said, "You have a voice, madam, I see. What you want is wits." No, I think she wants cheese. What a tricky fox.